Welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast, where we talk with the people behind the current events and breakthroughs in brain implants in an understandable way, helping bring together various fields involved in neuroprosthetics. Here is your host, Ladan neurotech.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast. Today's guest is Pawel Soluch, and he is based in Poland, and he is the founder and CEO of Neuro Device. They have a variety of products, actually, and one of them is the Neuro Device Voic. And this is a neurotherapy system for aphasia. Aphasia is basically when you can't speak. Your cognitive abilities are there, but you're not able to get out words. And this happens many times after a stroke or some kind of brain injury. This is a wearable device that basically turning on allows the patient to speak again. So very interesting stuff. They have a variety of other devices as well, including the Neuro Device Scent, which is able to measure olfactory signals and being able to predict diseases like Alzheimer's from this. These guys are really big in Poland. We were talking later that he met with the president many times over there in Poland, and now they're going to be expanding to the U.S. And we are really good friends. I mean, we've known each other for the last few years. He's always in the U.S., so he travels back and forth from Poland a lot. But really good guy and really a company that you need to watch out for. So excited to have him on. Finally, after a few years, he said, okay, my English is not so good, but I'll come on. I'm like, don't worry about your English. It's great. Okay, enjoy it. So Pawel Soluch, pleasure to have you on the show. You're the founder and CEO of Neuro Device, and this is a Polish company that has wearable devices to prevent aphasia, right? Which is not being able to speak or having trouble speaking, usually after a stroke. So this is kind of a strange device to have. I mean, how did you come up with it? First of all, thank you for coming on the show. We're good friends. We've been talking for 2 years, so I'm very happy to finally have you on the show. But do you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit how you got into this strange device cure or something like that?
Yes. Thank you, Ladan, for invitation. It's my pleasure. I think what are you doing for our community? It's great, and this service, this podcast, is amazing. I'm a listener. My friends are listeners. So thank you very much. You've asked me about how I get into this field. So when I started work as a neuropsychologist in the biggest hospital in Poland, I was very excited. I just graduated. It was beginning of 20s, and it wasn't so popular in Poland that just after university, somebody getting a job in such a place. I was very lucky. It's true. By having such great access to the patients, I graduated university with honors. So at the same time, I decided to continue my adventure with university as a PhD student and lecturer. Everyone was very engaged in their job. It was my whole life, so I learned very rapidly. I participated in the international conferences and so on, and was able to build new tools as, for example, fMRI, positron emission tomography, neuronavigation. For some time, I was involved in EEG measurements for other than only epilepsy, non-invasive stimulation, new technologies for cognitive rehabilitation, and so on. So as all of those required equipment. Initially, many of electronic components we developed in cooperation with Warsaw University of Technology. But in 2008, I realized that the commercialization of what we do is a good direction for self-development, but also can be really valuable for patients. Can be valuable for science also in some way, and healthcare system here in Poland. Because as the company, we are more flexible, more responsive, and therefore I can better help patients through a career in college or hospital. So this is how I founded Neuro Device.
I thought you had a personal reason for this too. Didn't you say that someone in your family was affected with some neurological disorders?
Yes, it's true. My cousin, he jumped in 2006, he jumped to the water, and already he has a tetraplegia. So this is the reason of my private goal, what is to make quadriplegic patients absolutely independent, allow him to move and feel as good as healthy person. And one of the projects we are working on currently is about neuroprosthesis. This is definitely much more long-term project than a project with aphasia. As a neurostimulation is our focus, we would like to use our experience in this field, in neuroprosthesis. So we would like to develop a stimulator. In the first step, it will be invasive, but later on, we would like to have a non-invasive stimulator, what will be dedicated to cover the needs of the sensory feedback from effectors, as hands or legs, or to the brain. We have been preparing this project for many years. The Neuro Device was founded, but in the last 2 years, we made distinctive steps. I'm very, very excited because in January, we have received an equipment for implantation from BlackRock Microsystems. So, Ladan, keep an eye on our social media because we inform the world about our progress there, and it will be in this year. The mission wasn't only assigned to my cousin, but also about what I during all of years of work at the neurosurgery department. Because between 2001 and 2008, I was a neuropsychologist at the department of neurosurgery. So I was able to see these patients, the families, and their problems with disabilities.
Yeah, definitely. That can have a very big impact. So I want to talk about the voice device that you have. Do you want to describe it a little bit and what is the purpose of it?
Of course, yes. So already we have 2 ready projects for clinical trials. The one is voice, the second is scent. The voice project is a comprehensive system for post-stroke aphasia rehabilitation, as you mentioned. What we've done with voice is amazing because we have been merging clinical experience, modern neurostimulation, and new technologies. Modern neurostimulation means TACS, not very popular yet in the clinical treatment and even in the science. But we choose this because we believe that it's more effective for cognitive rehabilitation than TDCS. All of those, what we've done already is to give to the patients reliable help in their bed situation. Can you imagine that in the US, 16,000 speech therapists take care of 2 million patients? So this is unmanageable. And what more, research states that a minimum 5 hours therapy a week can give satisfactory effect. So how to meet these requirements with this number of therapists? In my private opinion, in years to come, that will only get worse due to population growth and medical professionals leaving the field. We started with aphasia rehabilitation because of my clinical experience in such disability. There are a lot of social problems along the patients and their families. There is a very good study about the situation of these patients, a Canadian study. They analyzed 66,000 cases, and this study stated that aphasia has a greater negative impact on the quality of life than symptoms associated with cancer or Alzheimer's. The reason for this is that the intellect of people with aphasia is intact and they are locked in their minds. So this is a real social problem.
Do you want to refresh the audience's mind on what aphasia is? What are the symptoms? What does it look like? And then how does your device help it?
Yes, so the aphasia is a speech impairment, most commonly caused by stroke, TBI, or tumors, or even infections. It can result in mild to total loss of speech. Most frequently manifests as the inability to retrieve names of people, objects, or even more severely, in the ability to verbally communicate at all. So they can't speak, they can't signalizing their needs or feelings. The intellect of people with aphasia is intact. So I like to name this situation that they are locked in their minds, what is horrible. So the voice platform, because our system will contain a few elements. The first is hardware. I mentioned that this is the TACS stimulator. The voice platform applied to the rehabilitation, including speech processes, memory, perception, basically all cognitive functions. Users have an access to database of exercises, tools, and models for training. and it makes a very flexible system for all cognitive limitations. This platform can easily be expanded to accommodate to other languages because the system allows therapists to build their own exercises programs on the model like, for example, WordPress. Do you recognize WordPress?
Yeah. I think that powers like half the internet.
Exactly. So the creating test tasks is very simple. We have additional module. We call it Voice Store. This is the marketplace for all of these exercises and programs. So patients and even other therapists will have access to an always growing set of tools. Therapists will get payments for rehabilitation sessions as it usually is, but additional the programs by others. What is unique in this rehabilitation field. So if you as a therapist in San Diego will put your own exercises on our voice store, then some other therapists in New York will be able to use session, and we will pay you for this implementation. And this is our method for scale up the business around the world. The verbal functions are very much associated to the culture. So there are a lot of nuances. It was necessary to make it in this way.
I think that's really cool. Like kind of a little bit more crowdsource the software side of things because that's so huge and reward people for it too. I think that's very clever. And especially if you say like be able to open things up and that way people with aphasia in, for example, Bangladesh would be able to have some kind of benefit. You just have a researcher code it specifically for Bangladesh. So I think that's brilliant. I like it.
Exactly. If we would like to translate some exercises from English to Polish language to German, it's easy not possible because we have to engage thousands of translators. With this approach, we have a chance to build a base of tools. So this is very, very nice feature of our system. We have hardware, we have software, everything is connected and synchronized. And as I mentioned, we are using TACS. This is the application of oscillating electrical currents. This type of stimulation is able to influence cortical excitability and activity. Usually for TACS, TACS uses sinusoidal waveform. However, any other forms appears possible.
Okay. And then you guys actually are starting clinical trials on this. So you're actually going to be testing this on humans. Now, you've timed it kind of poorly because you didn't plan for a global pandemic in the middle of that. Do you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yes, this is absolutely unmanageable. And this is our biggest challenge now, the pandemic. We are stalled in our clinical trials, indeed. We are doing everything possible to reschedule our projects. It concerns not only voice, but also another projects. But for example, for voice, we switched our work from clinical trials to final hardware preparation. Very soon, we will start our work on the software because everything is closed, and this lockdown absolutely changed our schedule for 2020. Yeah, so for such projects like SEND, this is the early diagnosis of Alzheimer's, we are ready to move forward with the clinical trials already, and there is nothing else to do. So we are waiting. For voice, we have good collaboration with Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, but they are very much involved in COVID treatment, so it's not possible to perform this. Also, we have a problem with a trial here in Poland. We have no approval from ethical committee to use the ACS without a medical doctor. Otherwise, if we could do it without medical doctor, it could be possible to perform this study at home. And it would create opportunity to make it even during the pandemic. But in this case, it's not possible. So we have to wait.
So does that affect you in terms of money too? Are you guys spending money while this is happening, or is it just literally on pause and then you can just unpause? Is the success of this trial in jeopardy?
So in very simple way, I can tell that we will pay for the patients, for the cases we are posed in our clinical trials. So we will start again after the lockdown, but there is no influence on the financial side, fortunately. And as I mentioned, we are focused on hardware preparation already and on the software. So we not lose this time for sure, but there is some problem, and we had to reschedule our plans for 2020.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear that it's not going to sink the project. For our audience, is there anything that you learned from this? Any wisdom that you can share with them?
Yes, I think that fast reaction is very necessary, and fast analyzing of the situation and implementing changes. We are agile company since the beginning, so I think it's not very critical for us, and we was able within 3 hours to move our tools from office to home. Everyone is working from home, and this amazing group of people was able to make it very fast, because since the beginning we are agile company, and it's very good approach to making business in this time. But of course, I think that it will be different in the US and it's different in Poland. So there is no one recommendation for how to change the situation. Also, I see some positive signs from this situation, because in 2019 we tried to hire some data scientists, and it was really difficult to find good people on the market. Now I see that there are a lot of them, because a lot of big companies fired at least some percent of their employees. We can use this situation and to hire these talented people.
Yeah, at least some kind of benefit out of this. And you guys are based in Poland, and actually in Poland, you guys are huge. I mean, I think like meeting with the president and one of the top companies in Poland, right? Do you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yes, it's the situation, it's the value of doing business in such a country like Poland, where we still developing our business, our economy. It's also not popular to make very much specialized businesses like Neuro Device, because we are focused just only on the neuromodulation. This is something what can differentiate us from the other companies, and it helps us to be in the startup world. We met a few times with president. And his team is very proud of our successes. It wasn't possible without my team, and I was just only the initiator, the author of the company. But now this is a company of 30 very smart people. We have the privilege and benefit of partnering with leaders in science, technology, and medical devices. For example, we have been honored by a number of prestigious prizes and awards. So yeah, I'm very proud of this team, and I think this is beautiful how we were able to build the community, and I can tell that we feel as a big family.
Yeah, really excellent stuff. Poland is a smaller country. I mean, still, I think like 100 million. So it's still really big. But despite all this, you have been expanding, right? And into the US and everything.
Yes. First of all, we are looking for partners and investors for voice, because we would like to accelerate our work and we need investment for this. We would like to effectively perform POP and clinical trials as soon as possible. We have also some challenges to make clinical trials here in Poland, because in the US there are a lot of big hospitals, big centers. Here, just only few. So it's easier to make it in the US. We would like also to meet expectations of FDA, because US is the biggest market. And this is the reason why we choose US as our next office, the place for the next office. We choose Boston, Massachusetts, and the plan was to open our office in February this year. But again, because of COVID and lockdown, it wasn't possible. We are cooperating with three people from US now. They are consultants for us for patents, for clinical trials, and for marketing and PR. To open the office is just only formal step because already we are there. I'm spending time in the US very often, and I think that at least one per month I am there. I was there because now I'm sitting here in Warsaw.
Yeah, I guess everything's on pause, maybe, 5, 6 months, and then you'll be able to resume. And yeah, it was amazing that you you were always in the US. Pretty much every month I'd see you, and I'm just like, wow, you flew all the way from Poland this many times. So I bet you have so many frequent flyer miles. It's unbelievable.
What is very important to me is to be engaged on the 100%. Otherwise, you can't show for your team that you are at the same power like them are. So this is the reason why I'm working heavy, and this is the reason why it's not a problem for me to be in the US so frequently. I know that I have to be there, and I am.
Yeah, definitely. Focus your energy there too. Well, Pavel, this has been excellent. I've really enjoyed this. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
I mentioned about SEND project is also very interesting because it concerns diagnostic of degenerative disorders. So we have a system ready that could be an effective tool for early diagnostic of diseases like Alzheimer's. It is based on chemosensory evoked potentials. As you probably know, first symptoms of the neurodegeneration are smell disorders. So if we associate this precise test of the nervous system, then we can get very reliable tool for screening tests. We are talking with two big pharma firms about extensive research. So I think that in some way, it could be a game changer for millions of people who could get early diagnosis to start pharmacotherapy and therefore have a better chance to keep fit cognitively. I hope that when we will have effective treatment, then this type of diagnostic can help even to recover. I think also that this study will help us to better understand the mechanisms of neurodegeneration. So this is also a very interesting project. We are not recognizing the smells. We are delivering some special smells to the nose, to the patient's nose, record breath rhythm, and record EEG. In fact, chemosensory evoked potentials. So based on latency of the evoked potentials and based on different other parameters, we can predict if there are some problems with smell system. So we can recognize that this person will develop neurodegeneration within 5 years because she or he has the problems with smell. And these problems are not diagnosed by declarative tests, but by objective tools. Yeah, and I think that everything is possible with these people. Yeah, so I'm very excited to do it, and I'm doing it in fact since 2008, and still I have a big power to do it and to change life of every neuro patients.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some companies that I kind of fall in love with, and I'm just like, wow, these guys are doing a really good job. Yours is one of them. So definitely watch out for this talented team and what they're going to be able to accomplish in the next few years, because I think it's going to be really cool. And especially coming to America, I think it's going to be great. So, Pavel, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ladan, and see you soon in the US.
Hope you enjoyed the show and were able to learn something new, bringing together different fields in novel ways. Until next time on the Neural Implant Podcast.